96.3, program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. And today we're talking about
the perspective on politicians.
Perspective on politicians. Well put, my dear. Well put. Vis-a-vis oversight of their campaign expenses and their campaign, the way they handle their campaign monies. Our guest this morning is Sharon Steward. We appreciate your making this trip all the way up from Springfield, Sharon. And when you get done, you'll report right back into the office, and you'll be attacking some report somewhere that's on your desk that during the course of the week you'll have to make sure it gets done.
Well, as far as the disclosure reports that are filed and what type of errors, I mean, one of the questions that will pop up a lot is whether or not something that may have been reported as a lump sum, because they're saying everything was 150 or less. Mm-hmm. That is a large amount that we wonder possibly were there people in there that gave more than 150 and they should be broken down. Those things are happen with larger committees sometimes.
Is an in-kind contribution considered a contribution? For instance, if I had a big KC's or Elks or whatever place, and I said, okay, now normally I charge $500 to rent this, but I will let you have this free, and that's my gift to you. Now, do you put that down as a contribution?
Yes, that's a contribution. Yeah, that's a contribution that's reported. They would report it by, it's not a cash contribution, but it is a contribution that's reported on the report. So if it's over 150 in value, it would be itemized as far as who gave it, if there was a separate vendor, who the vendor was, the amount, and the date. That would also be reported. And one thing I haven't mentioned that's a big thing starting January 1 was implementation of contribution limits in Illinois for the very first time. And so the in-kind would also count towards, it's a contribution, it would count towards the contribution limits. But that's brand new in Illinois. So that's another thing that committees have to deal with.
Are you going to be limiting contributions by individuals and by groups, industries, companies, what have you?
The contributions the limits are set by the recipient, okay? So like if I'm a political action committee, I can only receive so much during election cycle from another political action committee, from a candidate committee, etc. So it's set on the recipient, what the recipient can receive. And it covers candidates, it covers individuals, it covers unions, it covers associations. Everybody is governed by contribution limits now.
Can lobbyists make contributions if they list them?
The lobbyists is a separate law. We don't govern that. That is in by the Secretary of State. So if they make contributions out of a political fund, then that would be governed by that political fund's contribution limits. But lobbyists, they report separately, and I don't know exactly what they report, but they are under the auspices of the Secretary of State and not the campaign disclosure law.
But from the recipient's end, it still is a contribution.
Right, and I don't know if they would be if a lobbyist would be considered, assume an individual, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. As I said, the lobbyists have separate reporting from what
to whom do they report?
Secretary of State.
I'm sitting here thinking it was deemed necessary to have this committees as a result of, you say, as the Watergate business eons ago. Seemed like eons ago. Now it really wasn't that long. At some point in time, somebody had to sit down and start writing a bunch of regulations and rules. Whence did they come? Somebody set this as this was established. Somebody or bodies start putting their legal pad. Now we're going to do this. We got to do this. And you have to wonder how the genesis of this and how it all evolved from the time that it was decided it was necessary.
I think a lot of it came from the feds, and I think our law was patterned, and probably other state laws were patterned loosely and take a lot of language from the federal election law. And same thing with regulations, but that's just kind of my guess. I mean, from what I've seen, and I think that's where it was the federal election that had the law first, and the states, kind of went from there.
I'm not advocating growth in the bureaucracy. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Abundantly clear.
Abundantly clear. But, with the workload balanced against the people to handle the workload, it almost seems like it's a placebo to tell us who live in Illinois, look, we got this outfit, we're overseeing it, it's going to be fine. I just don't know how you can possibly keep up. And then, of course, in addition to keeping up with the forms, which are going to be one more pretty soon here, you have to adapt to the new online business and the new laws that you have to be terribly familiar with, and all of this in your spare time. And I assume you're an 8-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week outfit.
We've been very busy.
I think you're earning your nickel.
I mean, it used to be 10 years ago, it's more than 10 years ago, no election legislation ever got through. Okay, so we just were kind of status quo from what the law was
in 70.
since 1974. And then all of a sudden it's kind of started in 99 there was a Gift Ban Act, which made some changes and also put in electronic filing, and then jump again to, recent changes. Yeah, I mean, it's and I said we're doing the best we can.
What does the Gift Ban Act say, that you couldn't give me a diamond ring or a Cadillac?
No,
or
the
whatever?
Gift Ban Act, that was in 1999. One thing it did was set up the electronic filing. It also set up specific things that campaign money could not be spent for. And it also set up...
Like what?
Basically personal use, but they listed like 11 specific things, like personal travel, things you were going to be reimbursed for from the state, per clothes unless you were using them for the campaign. They set up a list of kind of specific things that were considered, the prohibited expenditures.
But if you were in the 5% that we've alluded to here several times, you could probably figure out a way to say, I had to go to Paris because I couldn't be a good mayor in that little town unless I knew what was going on in Paris.
Yeah. And this was before I started working there, but there was a case, I think, Troy versus the SBE, where we actually, apparently, said it was before my time, and whether we filed a complaint with whatever against someone saying that this was not a use, that we don't think this is a campaign expenditure. And this court case basically came back saying we could not question the seemliness of an expenditure. So that kind of tied our hands a little bit in that.
Is that still in force?
Well, it's not, but we do question. I mean, we do question things, and but that, at that time, that hasn't been overruled, I don't think, or as many other case that's replaced it. But that was back before I started. What the circumstances were, I don't know. I don't. I don't know what they were.
That's a joke.
But
to set up an office and say, but don't look at it, don't question it.
We question, and most of the times people, respond. Also, I said there can be outside complaints, and the more visible ones, outside complaints. What happens when there's an outside complaint is that the person who filed the complaint, there is a closed hearing that we hold in our office. One of our people is the hearing officer. The complainant comes in with their evidence. The respondent comes in what they've got to say, and then the hearing officer makes a recommendation as whether the complaint was filed on justifiable grounds and whether it should go to a public hearing. If they make that decision that they think it should go to public hearing, this will all go before the board. Actually, their recommendation will go before the board. The board will actually make that decision of whether or not it should move forward to public hearing. Public hearing is where the board has subpoena powers and that type of thing. And the closed hearing there is no subpoena powers. It's just basically, this is what I've got against you, this is how I respond, and the our hearing officer kind of weighs and makes a recommendation to the board, and the board then will decide if, there's something here, we're going to look into it farther. Send it to a public hearing, where they have subpoena powers, and then we have an attorney or an outside attorney who hears those. So, I mean, there is a process.
Sure.
Sharon, to your knowledge, has there been any legislation that's come from the great big hill up there that has either A, impeded your work, or conversely B, helped the work? Are there anything of any specific natures that you would think of that fall into those two categories, either helping or impeding your work?
Well, they've given us a lot more work to do. And this latest law, and they're aware of this, there's a lot of things that are kind of vague, and we're not sure how to interpret them. So we have
Why am I surprised?
people call in, and they want answers.
Sure.
They want to do the right thing. And we can say, well, this is kind of what we think, but don't hang your hat on it, because there hasn't been any complaints filed on it. There's no particular rules on this thing. And there is a part of this new legislation is there a task force set up. And actually they're going to meet for the first time this afternoon. I have to go back for that. And of people that are appointed by the governor and everybody. I don't know exactly who was appointing them, but they're going to review this new law and watch and see how it's implemented and see what repercussions there are and what changes there need to be.
What runs you to the greater degree, the legislation or the policies and procedures? Because I should think legislation might be kind of difficult. You alluded a while ago to the fact that they don't make a lot of laws, but if it's your game and your rules, you might think that you didn't want to make a lot.
Well, they set the laws up, and then we do the rules, and then they have to approve the rules that we we suggest.
So you kind of work like in tandem.
Right. But this being so new, there are areas that are showing up that we think, boy, we probably should have done a rule on this, and we didn't. So it's an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's brand new, and there are questions that we have. There are questions we brought to their attention, and regarding whether there will be anything that gets through the legislature this time, I don't know. But they've sat down and talked with staffers about it. So. So we're trying to work together to get something that, that evolves.
In the 25 years that you've been with the Illinois State Board of Elections, have you seen the rules become quite a bit more stringent, or surely not a loosening of any procedures?
Well, we don't normally do rules unless there's new legislation.
Right.
But some of the things in the rules that we did just helped us, okay? When we can assess penalties when committees are late filing. If they file their semi-annuals late, or if they file their Schedule A ones late. And what we've done is we had rules exactly how those penalties will be assessed. Like for the semi-annual, if it's the first violation, you have less than $5,000, it's $25 a day, and $50 for a second violation. Those type of things we did by rule that helped us. It took some of the discretion away from the board, took some of the work away from them, because we could just say, okay, this is what the penalty is going to be.
Right.
Those type of things. As far as the new, in the new law, like I said, we address some things by rule, but as we're finding, there may have been other things that we may have to address by rule or legislatively. You can't with rules. You can't go any farther than the legislation.
Right.
And so you're kind of reluctant to stick your neck out too far, because it's not going to be approved anyway. So some things have to be clarified legislatively, and that's kind of where we are at right now.
Do you see anything down the pike other than this? You have some new rules we have started in 2011. Is there anything any unusual import that you can foresee during the ensuing year?
As far as campaign disclosure, I can't speak for the legislature whether they would change. Right, it's right after the election. I don't know. Depends on what problems they have to deal with, and so I don't know. We kind of hope that they will make some, help us with some clarification. Other than that, what may come out of there, I mean, we haven't seen any of the bills yet, so, who knows, so.
Before we sign off, Judith, do you have any comment or question for Ms. Steward?
I'd just like to thank you so much for coming. This has been very interesting to me. I never talked with anybody from your department, and I appreciate your driving to the big city here.
Okay, well, I'll just close by saying, if you want to get on our website and look at the contributions, it's very, very interesting. And if anybody needs any help finding something on the website, to call us, because you look through those reports. It's in.
Give us your website.
What is the website, please?
Okay, it's www.elections.il.gov. And you'll be surprised at what you see on there as far as the money.
Or dismayed sometimes, perhaps. We appreciated your fact that you would, as Judith said, make the trip up here, Sharon. It's very nice of you to do that. It kind of gives us a little better feeling about somebody's watching the pot, aren't they?
Watching the store.
Yeah, somebody's got their mind on the store. We always try to close with some of the bit that has to do with the subject of the day. And this perhaps could be said of some politicians. Some, not all. If you have something of importance to say, for God's sake, start at the end. Thank you for Viewpoint.